I never thought a single question could blow up so fast, like a popcorn kernel turning into a full bucket of chaos. So, picture this. I'm at my desk just trying to figure out the latest marketing campaign when Mark, the guy who's basically our office's unofficial news anchor, suddenly leans over with that trademark. Hey, did you hear? Look. I wasn't ready for what came next. It started with me asking something harmless. Typical newbie trying to keep up, trying to fit in kind of stuff. I wasn't gossiping on purpose, I swear. Just a casual question about what's going on with the team, a little nudge for details. But the way Mark's eyes lit up, that should have been my first warning. The guy practically lives for this stuff. Then came the slow-mo realization creeping in. Stuff I thought was just office chatter somehow turned into every whisper and sideways glance aimed in my direction. Suddenly, I wasn't just part of the conversation. I was the conversation, the epicenter of every rumor swirling around that cramped little marketing agency where we all worked. It hit me hard when Lisa, our no-nonsense office manager with a radar for drama and clarity that felt like a superpower, called me into her office. There's something about the way the door clicks shut that instantly makes your stomach drop. I sat down, feeling the weight of every speculative story I might have touched, even unknowingly. Lisa's sharp gaze didn't help calm my nerves. She didn't even have to say much, just that look. Like, so, Jenna, what exactly have you been spreading around here? Honestly, I didn't fully get it at first. How did my simple question turn into this massive office storm? How did I, a girl just trying to learn the ropes, end up tangled in the mess of rumors nobody could seem to stop? The whole thing felt like I'd accidentally stepped into a reality TV show and suddenly everyone was watching. That morning, standing there in Lisa's office, all I could think was, what kind of trouble am I really in? So, rewind a bit before the popcorn popped and the chaos kicked in. I'd only been at the agency for a few months, and honestly, those first few weeks felt like trying to learn a new language. Everyone spoke so fast, dropped acronyms I'd never heard, and tossed around inside jokes like they were currency. I was the new kid from the suburbs, trying to figure out if I was supposed to laugh at Mark's jokes or just smile awkwardly. Spoiler, mostly the latter. Mark, though, he was like the office heartbeat. You couldn't ignore him even if you wanted to. He had this way of launching into conversations that pulled you in before you could even finish your coffee. On my second week, he cornered me by the coffee machine with that grin, like he'd just found a new partner in crime. Hey, Jenna, he said, lowering his voice like he was about to reveal state secrets. You gotta hear what's been going on with the client from last week. I nodded, trying to look interested even though I mostly wanted more caffeine. And then there was Lisa. Oh, Lisa. She was the kind of manager who didn't sugarcoat things. Sharp as a tack and with eyes that missed nothing. If office drama were a crime scene, Lisa would be the detective who knew exactly who was guilty before the coffee even brewed. Everyone respected her, a bit feared her, and honestly, I was starting to appreciate that no-nonsense vibe. Made me think she might be the one person who could help me navigate this swirling mess when things started getting weird. Of course, getting pulled into Mark's whirlwind of office stories was inevitable. One afternoon, I caught a few snippets of a conversation by the break room that seemed kind of juicy but mostly confusing. Something about a budget issue, a missed deadline, and a name I barely recognized whispered alongside a phrase like, might be in trouble. I didn't ask questions. Well, not aloud, but my ears definitely perked up. Later, over lunch, I found myself sitting next to Mark, who, having caught my curious glance, practically shoved me into the middle of the latest gossip parade. Have you heard about Tom and the Henderson account? He said like it was the headline of the day. Before I knew it, I was nodding and offering my thoughts, barely clued in but trying desperately to seem in the loop. I should have stopped there, but you know how it goes when someone like Mark starts talking, one story leads to another, and before you realize, you're repeating things that sounded interesting but were maybe a little off. Somehow, maybe, turns into definitely, and a misheard phrase becomes fact. What I didn't realize at the time was just how many ears were tuned into these conversations. Lisa, especially, seemed to appear whenever the topic got heated or a rumor started to spread like wildfire. She'd walk past, arms crossed, maybe drop a knowing glance and vanish before anyone could say, who invited the manager? And then there was the awkward moment when I overheard Lisa talking on the phone, saying things like, not again, and who started this time? It was like she had a backstage pass to every bit of drama, and somehow, I was the unwitting star. That's the part I kept asking myself. How did my casual questions and half-baked guesses turn into the fuel for this wildfire? At some point, I started piecing it together. The little conversations, the offhand comments, the tiny misunderstandings that snowballed overnight. I was the common thread in almost every whispered exchange, the source everyone seemed to trace back to, even if I never meant to set any of it in motion. But honestly, I couldn't figure out where it had all gone wrong. Was it something I said, the way I asked, or just Mark's endless storytelling that pulled me in too deep? Whatever it was, the line between innocent curiosity and full-blown gossip got so blurry I'd lost sight of which side I was on. And yeah, that feeling stuck with me, hovering like a cloud, mostly because deep down I knew the storm was only just starting. It all started when Mark leaned over my desk during what was supposed to be a routine Wednesday morning. He had that familiar spark in his eye, the one that screamed, "I've got something you're gonna want to hear." I was sipping my coffee, nodding along, trying to keep up with the pile of emails that felt like they'd multiply every time I blinked. "So," Mark said, lowering his voice just enough to make it feel like a secret, "you know how Tom's been acting all mysterious lately?" "Well, I heard from Sam that he might be heading out the door sooner than we thought." I blinked, coffee halfway to my mouth. "Really? Tom? Leaving already?" Mark nodded fervently. "Yeah, but get this, there's more. Apparently it's not just about work stuff. There's some personal drama mixed in." And just like that, my idle curiosity caught fire. I hadn't intended to pass the news along, more like trying to understand what was happening, but the next day at the printer, the tidbit I shared with Lisa about Tom's possible exit took on a whole new life. Suddenly, it wasn't just about Tom. It was Tom and the budget crisis, the missing files, and some secrecy about a new client no one knew was even being pitched. The small detail about personal drama had inflated into supposed office scandals, and whispers trailed me down every hallway. One afternoon, Jill from accounting hovered too long at my desk, her eyes wide as she said, "I heard Tom's not just leaving. He's being forced out because of some huge mistake with the Henderson account, right?" I froze, heart pounding. "Wait, I don't know if that's true. I only heard he might be leaving, but the rest sounds intense." Jill shrugged, but the doubt was already planted, like a seed I never meant to sow. And the worst part? The rumor didn't stay contained. By the next morning, people I barely knew were giving me side eyes like I held the company's darkest secrets. So I tried to backpedal. After all, I'm not in the gossip game on purpose. I started clarifying things when Mark and I chatted. Well, I attempted to. "Mark, maybe we need to be careful about what we throw around, yeah?" He grinned like I was the killjoy. "Relax, Jenna. Just what everyone's curious about. Besides, it's not like you're spreading lies, just connecting dots." Connecting dots? It felt more like setting off fireworks, honestly. And no matter how much I tried to explain, the rumor had taken on a life of its own. People tweaked the story so much that by the end of the week, the whole office thought Tom was planning a dramatic exit that would shake the agency to its core. Tension thickened the air during meetings and breaks. I could feel people watching me, whispering behind their screens. Friendships that had seemed friendly suddenly felt strained. Even Lisa, who usually kept a professional distance, gave me looks that mixed disappointment and something like exasperation. Then, Dave, the quiet, almost invisible guy from the design team, caught me one afternoon by the stairs. He's not really the gossip type, but this time, he seemed to want to say something important. "You know," Dave said, glancing left and right, "I've been noticing how the story's been spinning. It's wild how one little thing can snowball." I sighed. "Tell me about it. I wish I could just hit pause or rewind." He smiled faintly, like he understood more than he let on. "If you want, I can help you figure out who's been adding their own spin to it. Might clear things up." It was oddly comforting, the offer of help from the quiet guy who usually stayed under the radar. For the first time since the chaos began, I felt like maybe I wasn't completely alone in this mess. Still, with every step I took trying to fix what I'd accidentally broken, the rumor web just seemed to get thicker. And honestly, that's when I started wondering if I'd gone too far down the rabbit hole to climb back out. When I finally decided to face Lisa, it felt like stepping into the lion's den, which is probably an overdramatic way to put it, but you get the idea. Lisa's office was that minimalist kind of space that somehow still feels super intimidating, especially when the person sitting across from you has that no-nonsense stare that screams, "What exactly is going on here?" I took a deep breath and just laid it out. "Lisa, I think I got in way over my head with all of this Tom stuff. I didn't mean for any of it to get so twisted." She listened, her arms folded but not interrupting. I explained how the rumor started with Mark and how I'd unintentionally passed on bits without really thinking about the consequences. After I stopped talking, she gave me one of those slow, deliberate looks. "Jenna, I appreciate you coming forward. It takes guts. But you have to understand, office gossip isn't just chatter. It messes with people's reputations and our team's trust." Yeah, it stung, but she was right. I sighed, admitting, "I didn't realize how much my harmless questions could blow up like this." Then she leaned forward just a touch. "Look, I'm going to clear the air with the rest of the team, set the record straight about Tom and the account. But I need you to help me keep things professional moving forward. No more loose talk." That felt like a weight lifted, even if it also came with a big sister kind of warning. Lisa wasn't just scolding me, she was giving me a chance to fix this. I nodded, making a mental promise to myself to tighten up my radar on what crosses the line between curiosity and chaos. After that, Dave popped up again, which I wasn't expecting. We'd had a few quiet moments together previously, but now he looked more engaged, even kind of amused in a subtle way. "Hey," he said, leaning against the wall near my desk. "Lisa's right, but honestly, we all get caught up sometimes. Glad you came clean." Surprisingly, he had ideas on how to help me rebuild trust. You know, sometimes the best way to stop rumors is to change the narrative. Be upfront. Share info on your terms, not through whispers. I liked that. Felt like a new strategy, one where I wasn't just reacting but actually owning the story of what was really happening. Over the next few days, I made a point to keep conversations light, steer clear of office speculation, and yes, avoid falling into Mark's whirlwind of gossip. It was challenging. Mark's excited chatter was hard to resist, but every time I caught myself about to blurt something that sounded juicy but unverified, I stopped. Funny thing though, in trying to fix the mess, I realized how much of the problem wasn't just me. The office culture itself was a stew that invited gossip bubbling over every chance it got. So many people were so eager for the latest scoop that even the tiniest detail got amplified beyond belief. Still, Lisa's efforts, along with my attempt to be straightforward, helped calm things down. The rumors about Tom got officially squashed. Turns out the budget crisis was real, but nothing scandalous, and Tom wasn't leaving anytime soon. And yes, that was a relief, because watching those sideways glances fade away was like wiping smudges off a foggy window. But here's the kicker. Even as things settled, I couldn't shake wondering whether I'd actually fixed everything or if I'd just stirred the pot enough to change the flavor. I mean, did the office learn anything except that Jenna's questions could set off small explosions? In all honesty, I wasn't sure. What I did know was this whole experience had opened my eyes to how office gossip works, like this sneaky little beast, feeding on idle chatter and swallowing good intentions whole. And maybe the most valuable lesson wasn't about avoiding rumors altogether, because let's face it, those are inevitable, but learning how to spot the sparks before they become wildfires. So yeah, I'm still the newbie with a front row seat to the ever-changing drama of office life. But now I approach it a little wiser, a little more cautious, and with the quiet support of Dave, who turned out to be the most unexpectedly steady ally I could have hoped for. And maybe that's enough for now. Because if nothing else, I've learned that sometimes the best way to survive a storm isn't to pretend you're the calm eye in the center. It's to ride the waves with open eyes and a little humor, knowing the next one's just around the corner.